Hello guys, welcome to MetaWorld. In today's video, we're going to be studying about brachial plexus. The brachial plexus is the plexus of nerves which are formed by anterior rami of the lower cervical spinal nerves and if only one thoracic spinal nerve. So we have only one thoracic spinal nerve involved, that is T1 in the brachial plexus, and the lower cervical nerve from C5 to C8 are involved in forming of brachial plexus. The components of the brachial plexus are four, that is root, trunks, divisions and cords. The roots and trunks are located in the neck region. The division and the cords are behind. So the division is behind the clavicle and the cords are in the axillary region. Okay. The roots, coming to the part of roots from C5 to T1, we can see here C5, C6, C7, C8 and T1. Now next is trunk. The next component of brachial plexus is trunks. So we have three trunks: upper trunk, middle trunk and the lower trunk. Upper trunk is formed by C5, C6. Middle trunk is formed alone by C7, whereas the lower trunk is formed by C8 and C1. Okay, so C5, C6 joins to form the upper trunk. C7 alone forms the middle trunk, whereas C8 and T1 joins to form the lower trunk. Next we have divisions. How divisions are formed? Each of the trunk divides into anterior and posterior compartment, like anterior division, posterior division. Anterior division from middle trunk, posterior division from middle trunk. Anterior division from lower trunk, posterior division from lower trunk. This is how divisions are formed. Now from divisions leads to cords. So how cords are formed? Basically, we have three cords: lateral cord, the posterior cord and the medial cord. Okay. So the lateral cord is formed by the anterior divisions, two anterior divisions. Okay, you can see this is the anterior division. Okay, two anterior divisions of upper trunk and middle trunk. Two trunks, two anterior divisions forms the lateral cord, whereas the posterior divisions of all the trunks, that is upper, middle as well as lower, the posterior divisions of all these trunks joined and combines to form the posterior cord. Okay, all the posteriors forms the posterior cord. Now coming to the part of medial cord, the only thing that is left here is the anterior division of the lower trunk. So this anterior division of the lower trunks forms the medial cord. Okay, now after this we have branches, but now let us know until this part to avoid confusion. Next thing here is division. So we have branches coming from every component of the brachial plexus except for divisions. Roots gives rise to branches, trunks also gives rise to branches, cords also gives rise to branches, but the only component of brachial plexus that does not give rise to any of the branch is division. This is an important point to remember. Now let's talk about the branches. So from roots, here we have roots, right? This is the root region. This is the root region. So from roots we have two main, but also other ones are also there, but mainly we have two, that is dorsal scapular nerve 1 and the long thoracic nerve 2 branches. Okay, so dorsal scapular nerve arises only from C1, C5, the C5, only the dorsal scapular nerve, whereas long thoracic nerve, the root value is C5 to C7. For dorsal scapular nerve we only have what? C5. Also have branches are given to by roots to supply scalenus muscle, longus colli and phrenic nerve. Okay, these nerves supplies to which muscles? Dorsal scapular clearly means that it's supplying to the dorsal surface. So on the dorsal surface, this nerve supplies to rhomboides major and minor and levator scapular. What is the action of rhomboides major? It helps in retraction of scapula. Remember, R for rhomboides, R for retraction. Okay. Next we have the long thoracic nerve. Long thoracic nerves is actually supplying the medial border muscles which are present on the medial border of scapula. That is, long thoracic nerve is also called as nerve of Bell, or it supplies to serratus anterior. This serratus anterior muscle is also called as boxing muscle and it prevents winging of scapula. Okay, so from trunk or out of upper trunk, middle trunk and lower trunk, only upper trunk gives rise to branches. Middle and lower trunk does not give rise to any branch. So that also from upper trunk we have only two branches arising, that is suprascapular nerve and the other is nerve to subclavius. Okay, I'll show you here in the diagram. This is the upper trunk, right? This is the upper trunk, this is the middle trunk, and this is the lower trunk. So from here and here, we don't have any nerve arising. But from the upper trunk, we have these two nerves arising. So from the name itself, we can say that suprascapular nerves supplies to supraspinatus as well as infraspinatus muscle. We know that supraspinatus muscle helps from 0 to 15 degrees abduction. The other nerve is subclavius, nerve to subclavius, which applies to the subclavius muscle. These are the branches arising from the upper trunk. There are no branches arising from the middle as well as from the lower trunk. Now coming to the cords, we have three cords as we have discussed already: lateral cord, posterior cord, and then medial cord. So we have mnemonics for all of it. First, let us talk about the lateral cord. Lateral cord L, right? So we have the mnemonic called as LML. LML. So from the lateral cord gives rise to three branches. The first one is lateral root of median nerve. Second one is musculocutaneous nerve, and the third one is lateral pectoral nerve. So this median nerve, it has lateral root and median root. Median root we'll talk about later. First, let us see lateral root of the median nerve. So it supplies to 6 muscles of the forearm and 5 muscles in the hand. Okay, you need to remember this, that the lateral root of median nerve supplies to 6 muscles of the forearm and 5 muscles in the hand. 6.5 muscles of forearm and 5 muscles in the hand. Whereas the musculocutaneous nerve, we remember BBC, biceps muscles, biceps brachii muscle, brachialis muscle, and coracobrachialis. All these 3 muscles are supplied by the musculocutaneous nerve. This musculocutaneous nerve, again, after supplying them, it continues as a lateral cutaneous nerve of forearm. But for now, just remember this. And the next thing is lateral pectoral nerve. This lateral pectoral nerve supplies to pectoralis major as well as pectoralis minor. It supplies the clavipectoral fascia and then supplies them. Okay, this lateral pectoral nerve. Clear about the lateral cord. Now talking about the posterior cord. For this, we have this mnemonic called as ulnar or ultra. I would say ultra is best to remember, but it's your choice though. But yes, so from ultra we can say U for upper subscapular nerve, L for lower subscapular nerve, T for thoracoacromion nerve, thoracodorsal nerve, R for radial nerve, A for axillary nerve. Next, upper subscapular nerve. It obviously supplies to subscapularis, but remember that the lower subscapular nerve supplies to subscapularis as well as the teres major. Okay, teres major, please focus on this. It supplies to teres major and not minor. This is thoracodorsal nerve. It supplies to latissimus dorsi. Then we have radial nerve, which supplies 12 muscles in the forearm and 1 bicep muscle in the arm. Tricep muscle. 1 tricep muscle and 12 muscles in the forearm. It's supplied by what? Radial nerve. Next, we have axillary nerve, which supplies to deltoid muscle as well as the teres minor. As I said, teres major is supplied by the lower subscapular nerve. So teres minor is supplied by axillary nerve. We need to remember this, okay? Now the root values. In this, I didn't say you, but all the we know that the lateral cord arises from the upper trunk, anterior divisions of the upper trunk, right? And middle trunk. So upper trunk and middle trunk are from the C5, C6, C7. So for all the nerves arising, all the branches that are arising from the lateral cord have the value C5 to C7. You can remember it in this way. Whereas from the posterior cord, the radial nerve is from C5 to T1. You remember this one. Then for C5, C6, we have 3. Axillary nerve, upper subscapular nerve, lower subscapular nerve. Only different is C6 to C8, which is thoracodorsal nerve. I hope it is clear. Talking about medial cord. For medial cord, again, M to M. We have this mnemonic called as M4U. Medial root of median nerve, medial pectoral nerve, medial cutaneous nerve of arm, medial cutaneous nerve of forearm, and the ulnar nerve. So, we have already seen in the lateral cord, we had lateral root of median nerve. So here we have medial root of median nerve, and this has value. This applies to the 6.5 muscles in the forearm and 5 muscles in the hand. Even there we studied the same. So both of them, lateral root of median nerve, medial root of median nerve, both of them supplies to 6.5 muscles in the forearm and 5 muscles in the hand. Next is medial pectoral nerve. We have already seen lateral pectoral nerve, which pierces clavipectoral fascia and supplies to pectoralis major and minor. So here we are seeing medial pectoral nerve, which supplies to pectoralis major and minor both. Next we have medial cutaneous nerve of arm. This medial cutaneous nerve of forearm supplies to the medial side of arm skin. Basically it supplies to the skin of the arm, okay, medial side. Again we have medial cutaneous nerve of forearm. Cutaneous is nothing but skin. So on the medial side, the cutaneous, that is the skin of the forearm, is supplied by these nerves, okay. Now the last one we have is U, that is ulnar nerve. Other name of ulnar nerve is also called musician nerve. So it has root value C7 to T1, and it supplies 1.5 muscles in the forearm and 15 muscles in the hand. 1.5 muscles in the forearm and 15 muscles in the hand are supplied by the ulnar nerve. Talking about the injuries to brachial plexus, first we need to discuss this Erb's point. This is the point where the 7 nerves meet, that is C5, C6, joining to form the upper trunk. Whereas the subscapular, suprascapular nerve, so right, subclavius, nerve to subclavius. And these two again divides into anterior and posterior divisions, the upper trunk. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is called as Erb's point. So the damage to upper trunk causes Erb's paralysis, which is also called as policeman tip syndrome, also called as waiter tip syndrome. Due to Erb's paralysis, the abduction is lost. Next is the injury to lower trunk. So the lower trunk damage is called by clump case paralysis.